The article that is being examined today is called Collaboration, Collegiality, Action, a case study of professional development for teachers. It's written by Jennifer Kelly and Saber Shirkowski. The video presentation is presented by Kenneth Martin. The article is basically a case study that documents a professional development initiative called Changing Results for Young Readers, or known as CR4YR, and it's in British Columbia. This case study is performed in a rural school district. It analyzes teachers' experiences in order to see the significance of teacher collaboration in relationships among teachers. It also analyzes how professional development can be structured and facilitated. So what is documented in this article? Within the article, it documents the progress of developing a PLC with literacy intervention teachers, classroom teachers, and other specialists in order to support early readers in the classroom. It also documents the teacher's perspective of the PLC to reveal the actual experiences in the PLC. It will also document if the PLC conversations are transferred to the classroom. This article documents if all this hard work had an influence on creating inclusive classrooms to instruct all young readers in the classroom setting. Basically, what's going to happen and why this article was done was to investigate the PLC and how different classroom teachers and literacy intervention teachers work together in order to reach young readers. There are three components of the PLC that are emphasized as a result of the study. The first component is collaboration. The second component is relationships. The third component is reflective practice. Collaboration is very important when it comes to PLC or professional learning communities. It becomes more in depth as the PLC develops. So the more opportunities you have to meet as a PLC, the stronger it can become. The more in depth you get, the more work actually gets done. And throughout all this collaboration and communication, it can lead to a fresh new perspective to teaching and learning. So basically, when the teachers are reflecting and going over their assignments with each other in their classes, and they're talking about how they did things differently from each other, all this input can help each member of the group. And this kind of collaboration also brings on reflection. And this is when somebody gets to kind of look at themselves and look at how they're doing things and compare it with others. Maybe they can see where they have difficulties, other people are successful in that area. That gives them a chance to polish up their skills and in turn take ownership of their craft. And this ownership can only get stronger with more collaboration. The second component is collegiality. Collegiality involves trust, and a professional learning community, if done the right way, should build an open dialogue that is trustworthy between colleagues. If there is that level of trust, the communication will be open, there will be honest discussions, and this will in turn lead teachers to take more risks. And when there is that trust, one would be more acceptance of your peers. And when everybody is accepting each other, listening, providing input, it results in a stronger buy-in from the group as a whole. And trust and respect can lead to a shared sense of meaning and also may help develop and identify within the PLC. Third aspect is reflective practice. This is where you can kind of look at your own teaching skills, the way you do things, and make decisions based on what you've seen from others. And that's the interactions with other teachers, which is peer observations, meaningful conversations, different perspectives from other teachers in the PLC. And once you begin this reflection, you can share these experiences in order to strengthen each other's expertise. So it's an ongoing thing. Each teacher in the PLC is reflecting on their own and then sharing these reflections, which is strengthening everyone within the PLC. And as long as these conversations are focused, they can definitely lead to a shift in a teacher's mindset. Now, the structure of the PLC meetings within this case study, there was a total of 7 PLC meetings conducted over an entire school year. And they consisted of a provincial facilitator, 2 early reading advocates, literacy intervention teachers, and classroom teachers. The provincial facilitator facilitated 4 out of the 7 sessions. The early reading advocates facilitated in the absence of the provincial facilitator. Classroom teachers and literacy intervention teachers shared experiential information about one case study student in their particular class. Now, the methods. This was for this study. It was a case study. That was the method. It was qualitative. It was a case study, and they're just trying to get a better picture of the experiences of the teachers within the professional learning communities. Now, these participants would meet for 7 full-day sessions throughout the school year. 7 full-day sessions. This means they had to get substitutes for every teacher, which does cost money. And the participants kept a reflective journal at each one of these meetings. The participants also had an in-depth interview at the end of the school year, after all of the PLC meetings were over. Now, to break down the participants, there was 14 classroom teachers and 6 literacy intervention teachers. There was 2 early reading advocates, and there was 1 provincial literacy facilitator. Now, can you imagine 14 classroom teachers being taken out of the classroom for a full day, 7 times in a year? That's some serious professional development. Now, out of the 14 classroom teachers, 4 of the classroom teachers and 4 out of the 6 literacy intervention teachers volunteered, I emphasize volunteered, to keep journals and participate in the reflective interview. Not random, volunteered. And another participant, the lead author of the study, was also a participant and a researcher. Now that has to make you question things also. As far as data collection, this was a very in-depth process. Reflective journals were conducted at each session, and the open-ended interview in the end was also done by 4 different teachers. And these interviews consisted of 30 to 40 minutes Now, the interviews were recorded word for word and transcribed. And the interviews were in turn analyzed by coding, categorizing, and abstracting data. This is qualitative research. Very in-depth, very time-consuming. The themes and patterns, after all this encoding, all the categorizing, the themes and patterns emerge from this. And that's where you got your categories that they focused on. Collaboration, collegial relationships, and shifting mindsets about the work of teaching and learning. Now, there were some gaps in research within this study. I do believe that there definitely could be a bias because the author of this article was also a participant in the study. There's no way that this person's own thoughts and opinions could come into play. They know, he or she knows these students, has worked with them, wants them to succeed. So there may be a level of bias moved in there. Another difficulty is how time-consuming this process is. Not only does it take an entire year for this to even be developed, but then you have to analyze the journal entries from every meeting from 4 different people, 4 different classroom teachers, and 4 different literacy intervention teachers. And then they had to analyze each interview, 30 to 40 minutes each, word by word, transcribed, and study those things to code and find things. And once again, another gap. I think it has to be very expensive. We're talking about 7 full professional days for 14 classroom teachers and 6 literacy intervention teachers. The cost has to be very high. In conclusion, I do think the case study was effective. Although it was qualitative in nature, it did come to some good conclusions. And I think it definitely identified 3 of the stronger aspects in the professional learning community. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.